Hey there, Supalama here. Today we're gonna pick another challenge lock out of the bottom of the bucket. This one is, I believe, by Pickme1977 there, named Daydream. There is the bidding, and it's a very, very smooth key. I did get into it not long ago. Shouldn't be too terribly difficult. It's got a couple tricks up its sleeve, but nothing impossible in it. A couple clicks off 1, a couple clicks off 5, another click on 1. We got a decently deep false set, overset on 5, click on 1 again, click on 5, click on, I don't know, say 3 or 4, overset on 2, it's back to 5, that was an overset on 1, okay. Yeah, that's gonna overset still, okay. Couple clicks off of 5 again. I think that would have been off of 5 as well. That's off of 1. I'm actually gonna move this a little, there we go. Feels like I'm oversetting a lot. That's definitely an overset. It's another off of 5. It's another off of 5. It's off of 3 or 4. Another deep false set, and I think that's off of 3. Counter rotation on 2. Yep, that would have done it. And I think that was a T-pin off of 5. So, really nice lock. Fun. Just give me a second to do a little bit of maneuvering here. Got the key so I can lock that up. And I felt a T-pin, so I'm going to need a shim. I'm actually going to get a new one. There. Okay, so that doesn't want to move any further, so I will just gut it as best as I can here with that shim. I think it's mostly pin 5 I was worried about. I think that's actually a 6-pin. There we go. All the key pins are pretty far down there. And that looks like undercuts and threading. We'll get to that in a minute. And my pinning tweezers are here. Looks like a serrated. copper spring. That chamber also looks threaded. Deep spool. That also looks copper. That looks like a standard chamber. Deep spool. Okay. Copper. Serrated. Steel. And that chamber is threaded. That is a drunken spool. Where did I do with my other tweezers? Okay. Copper spring. Looks like a standard chamber up top. And the last one is serrated if I can get it out. There we go. And it was like that. And that looks like a steel spring. Very long steel spring. Okay, and that chamber is threaded. So we've got 1, 4, and 6 are threaded up top. And we have 1's threaded, 2 is undercut, 3 is undercut, 4 undercut, 5 threaded, 6 threaded. And here are the pins. Just gonna make sure everything is the right orientation. Yeah, okay. So, yeah, that'll work. Torpedo, serrated spoolie, serrated spool, serrated. A little bit of an undercut on him, and another torpedo. We've got a, let me see if I can get more light. Steel, serrated, and then the rest look like brass. Heavily undercut spool, serrated, drunken spool, and serrated. But also got some spooliness in there because of the deep cuts. And again, to reiterate, up top, copper, 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 steel, copper, very long steel. Okay, so just as far as you can tell already, all the undercuts and the threads that were put into the chambers in the plug will all come into play because all the pins are well below it. We're going to pretend on number 5. So, 1, you've got all the pins from the serrated are going to grab into those threads. That gin, well, yeah, it kind of looks like an acid gin pool. It's going to grab into that undercut. 3 is going to immediately grab into that undercut. I'm going to put these guys down. Don't want to lose them. 4, all of those are absolutely going to grab into the undercut. 5 is this drunken spool. Both the wafer and the T-pin are going to be in there. So technically it does add an extra shear line, but it really depends on how the picker reacts to it. In my case, I'm pretty sure my last pin was pin 5 on that T-pin, because that's what it felt like. So the wafer probably didn't add much to my picking experience, but for somebody else, it could be quite different. It could act more of a spool because of where the pins sit. It all depends on the binding order. I would think if you ended up overlifting one of the key pins, that drunken spool would probably come into effect a little bit better. But that's not to say this lock wasn't difficult on its own. And finally, pin 6. It's going to act a little bit like a standard pin there, and then it's immediately going to grab all those threads. I didn't really feel threads. I did think I felt a little bit of undercuts, but you really need some really sharp serrations, deep sharp serrations to cut into those threads. Otherwise you need to essentially use like a screw cut into parts in order to grab into those serrations just right. That's really my only thought. It didn't feel crunchy like a lot of threaded serrated locks do, so I don't think it would be, you know, too tough to modify it a little bit further, but other than that, I wouldn't make any changes on this lock. It's great. Good fun, and I'm sure whoever gets this next will love it. So, Pickme1977, thank you for this awesome challenge lock, and everybody else, thanks for watching.
Tell me pretty lies, look me in the face, tell me that you love me, even if it's